Okay, go back through your, how do you...
Okay, so we'll turn it off and we'll get the full
Okay.
authentic experience. So that clicks over like a transformer.
Okay.
So you hop in.
Yes.
Start stop is on the steering wheel.
Okay.
So you're closing the door, you're starting it with your right hand, which is already weird. So you're starting it like this. You're buckling up, trying not to get this cable in your seatbelt.
Okay.
So I've done that a bunch. So okay, now we've started it. We're in dynamic, which is wrong. Hold it over to race.
Yeah.
Check. If it's bumpy, you then have to hit the bumpy suspension.
Oh, okay.
That puts the dampers in mid, but we're gonna run that. So now we're not gonna go anywhere, which is great. But if you click it back into dynamic, it'll auto start stop. So you have to turn that off, then go back and race. Then foot on the brake, parking brake off, drive, manual. Every single time you drive. Because if you're driving it in not race mode, it's just wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's a waste of everybody's time and a waste of the car.
Well, I'll have to tell Jason, who has the white one, that.
Oh yeah.
I don't even think he has put it in race mode yet.
If he hasn't put it in race mode.
I think it's, well, you know, he's had some scary moments with cars before, so I think he's trying to protect himself.
Oh, this thing will totally get sideways on you. But the other thing, if he's never put it in race, he'll never know that if I look in the dashboard where it says 3 right now, if I click it over into this, it says best race experience with shifter and manual. It says don't be in race mode if you're not going to shift it yourself.
That's awesome.
So it's, you know, it's encouraging you to drive it.
Yeah.
As a sports sedan should be.
Now, why the Alfa? You talked about maybe an M3.
Yes.
But you ended up with the Alfa. Is it you've always liked these cars, or?
Oh, dude, I've wanted one of these since I first saw them come out in 2017, and I was looking at like F80 M3s or an F82 M4 or something like that, just because I didn't know I could afford one of these. Honestly, I was looking around. I was like, you know what? Let's see if an Alfa is doable.
Yeah.
And then I saw that they'd come down a bunch, and I was like, oh, damn.
Which is similar to German. Cars. Like German cars just fall off.
But M3s, you can get them from like 2015, so they had 2 extra years of depreciation. So like you can find like kind of a clapped out 2015 F80 M3 base for like 30 to 35 grand.
Well, and they made way more of them
There's
too
a
than
bajillion.
These. Yeah.
Yeah, this specific one was the single closest one to me, period, and it was in Salt Lake.
Which is crazy to think about how little there are. I mean, I guess with Boise, with just how many people live here compared to Salt Lake. Or
the second closest was very northern Idaho, like 20 miles from the Canadian border. And I was like, I'm not driving that far to check one out.
This is the only quadrifoglio I've seen. I'm sorry, this is the second quadrifoglio I've seen. Not the only, because I just filmed one.
Yeah.
But this is only the second one I've seen. I've seen another Alfa, the Giulia, but it wasn't a quadrifoglio, I think.
When I was going to the courthouse to register this and pay all my DMV stuff, I saw 2 Giulias parked right out front.
Really?
Yeah, there's a black one and a white one. Because I originally wanted white.
Yeah.
And I saw the white one sitting there, I'm like, nah, I made the right call.
Yeah. The white one's cool, but this silver is really, really neat. And I have never seen one in this color either.
Same. This is the only silver one I've ever seen, quadrifoglio or not. And the BMW's silver, and when I wrapped it in company colors, I kind of missed the silver.
Yeah.
And this silver is basically the same silver. It's Silverstone instead of titanium silver, whatever BMW calls it.
Gotcha.
And it's basically 1 for 1. So I was like, oh, I get my silver car again.
Yes.
Was this a Hellcat behind us?
Oh yeah. Does he got a wide body kit on it, or is it just?
That's factory. Ooh. Is he on drag slicks? Oh! I'm about to get taken to Gapplebee's. Oh my god, can you hear him? Yeah. Oh my god.
He's got fucking drags on it.
That thing's sick. Well, I'm following him.
That thing is badass.
Dude, he's got a 360 cam mount. Oh my god.
Evil cat.
Oh, dude, this is killer. That thing's sick. It's gonna come up on our left here. It's fast, dude. That thing moves.
Well, yeah, I mean...
It's funny, I was just saying I haven't really raced anybody, but here we are.
here we're just spirited driving. There's no. So where did you? So you grew up in Idaho?
Yep, born and raised.
Born and raised, and have you always loved cars since you were a kid, or did it kind of like come in?
My stepdad is one of those people who like buys a bunch of cool Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist finds.
Oh,
like,
he does?
Like ATVs, for like, you know, side by sides.
He's all about the deal.
Dirt bikes. Oh, he's the art of the deal for sure. Like everything he bought, he always like, you know, had to clean up the carburetor, or, you know, needed new tires, or had to redo a bearing of some sort. But he always made money every time he sold them. So there's always this kind of stuff going through the house all the time.
So he was pretty mechanically inclined.
Super mechanically inclined, just kind of knew everything. Kind of would look at a nut and be like, oh, that's a 13.
That's
like,
cool.
Okay.
I wish I could be like that. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not quite to that level, but I still appreciate them. And when I was right before they moved up to council, he bought a 1991 Porsche 964 in like jet black. That thing was black with a like caramel tan interior.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was one of the coolest cars I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He had to put work into it, like repainted it, lowered it, put wheels on it, put like the Porsche guys are going to eat me alive, so I'm not even going to try, but he put like the whale tail kind of style.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And that car was just immaculate.
That's cool.
They sold it right before 964 prices went crazy, so I send them pictures every now and then of like
ones on cars.
Yeah,
and
I'd be like, oh, this one Cars and Bits is going for like 180. Don't you wish you sold it for that? Like, my mom's like, don't show him that, because he'll get sad.
So did you work a lot with him on cars? And
I tried to. I was kind of like that hold the flashlight kid.
Yeah.
I did my best, but I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So I learned through him like how to be at least somewhat mechanically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly just the exposure to cool stuff. And he introduced me to Top Gear when I was younger.
Cool.
The first one I saw was the Vietnam special. And I was like, all right, here we go.
When they build the bridge? Oh, that's not the Vietnam one.
That's the bridge over the River Kwai.
The River Koi, where they build over River Cock.
Yes. The Vietnam special is the one where they're on the mopeds.
That's right. Okay.
So I remember watching it when they were in the ocean, pedaling around on their modified rafts, and I was like, "This looks stupid." And then I kept watching, like, "This is amazing."
I remember they did one where they did like rally, like really early on, like a rally car one, and they had like a WRX on there, and that was like my first intro to Top Gear. But it was the same thing. I was with my dad, and like, I remember he said to me, "Oh, you could buy one of those for your first car. We could do that." And I was so amped. And then when like 10 years later, I still remembered that, or 5 years, 6 years later. And I was like, "Hey, could I get a WRX?" And he goes, "No, those are like 30 grand." I'm like, "What? You told me at 10 years old."
Yep. When I was looking to buy my first car, before I bought the Beamer, because the Beamer was his originally. I bought it off of him, so he's stoked I'm taking care of it. But we were planning on buying an older 2002. And like just turning it into a project car. But then we're like, well, okay, he's got to actually have a car that drives.
Yeah.
So we decided against that, and I bought the Beamer off of him. I kind of wish that I had the 2002, because I'd be so sick.
Yeah.
But it would have been such a project, because there was like none for sale that weren't just shells. So that was the start of cars.
The start of it. How'd you get into detailing?
So I was at Sun Valley for the Tour de Force, and I was just walking around looking at all the cool cars on show before the top speed runs.
Mm-hmm.
And just walking around, and the guy who detailed the Porsche for us walked up to me and was like, "Oh, nice, nice car," kind of like that, joking like, "Haha, I know it's your guys's."
Yeah.
And then we just started walking around and then chatted up, and then we saw some other detailers and dealers there that were kind of being all snooty, and he and I were kind of making jokes about like, "Oh, let's not be so snooty." And then he was like, "Hey kid, you want a summer job?" And I was like, "Sure." And it was a detailer.
That's awesome. So what a weird way or a random way to just get into it.
Yeah. He's like, "You want a job washing cars?" And then from then on, it was that shop, then a different shop, then helping out during college, and then starting my own thing.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's been a nice little ride.
Yeah.
So far, at least.
Well, yeah, and it's a cool way if you're passionate about cars to be involved.
Oh yeah, dude, you get to see so many cool things, and you get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
The weird thing though is like, you go around and you see a Ferrari and you're like, "Oh, that's Steve," or it's like, "Oh, that's Dave," or "Oh, that's Mike," and it's like it's not just like, "Oh, there goes a Ferrari." It's like, "Oh, that's oh, it's
so and
are his wheels dirty?" Like, I just cleaned those. It's like a disease at this point.
Is it hard to keep up with all of the like industry stuff now and with detailing? Because it seemed like 10 years ago it was a lot more straightforward than it is now.
There's a lot of crap out there.
Yeah.
Like it's the way that I've elected to do it is, in my opinion, the only way to really do it, and it's to just, when a chemical runs out, buy the replacement so that you know how it works, and then buy a new one to try so that you can directly compare it.
Ah, got you. Okay.
And that way I've got the default favorite, and then if it ever gets dethroned, I just keep buying that one. But I'm always trying new stuff, and
Yeah.
I always test it on my own cars first, because if it's a wheel
That's a good
cleaner,
idea.
for example, it could totally ruin a set of wheels.
Yeah, depending on the chemical they put.
Yeah, and I'm not about to spritz that on a McLaren before I put it on a Beamer.
No, God, no, God.
So
Yeah, so you've seen some pretty cool cars doing that stuff.
yes, and you're always up close with them. Like you get to find out, like, oh, this McLaren seal always breaks. Like underneath here, there's like little stoppers right here. Every 720S and 765 LT I've ever seen, one of them's fallen off.
Really?
Every single time, yeah. Like it's just every time I'm like, oh, is it there? Nope. Okay. Or like how they shake it idle, or just all the little stuff that you would never notice.
About those, yeah.
Yeah. Or the smell. Like every car smells different. Like Porsches have a specific smell. Ferraris have a smell. McLarens have, like, close your eyes and stick yourself in a car. You do it long enough, and you'll be able to figure out.
Do you think that's just the type of leather they use, or the
Yeah.
type of just?
It's like the types of Alcantara they use, the types of leather they use, and the types of plastics, because all of those kind of mesh together
Right.
to make a smell. Like a Corolla and a Camry and
Oh my God, Corollas have such a
Prelude.
distinct smell.
Yeah, I mean, but they kind of all smell roughly the same.
Yeah.
So they use the same type of plastic, and there's enough of it to overwhelm any other
True.
kind of smell.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting that you can actually. We'll have to do a sniff test one day.
when I hopped in this to test drive it, I was like, oh, that smells like a 488.
That's true. So this has a Ferrari motor with 2 cylinders chopped off, right?
That's what everybody says, and from what I've found, that appears to be true.
There's a couple people that have been are under the impression that it's the V12 with 6 cut off.
I don't
But it's
think
not.
so.
It's not.
It's got the wrong displacement for
Right,
that.
and people can't figure out, like, why would you cut 2 cylinders off
And
a
then
motor?
add
And you're
two
not
turbos?
actually you're not actually cutting 2 cylinders off a motor. You're just developing a motor it's the same block and everything with 2
Yeah.
less cylinders.
Jeremy Clarkson says that it's the same bore, stroke,
Yes.
V angle,
Yeah.
and then somebody else said it's the same turbo placement. So to me, that's close enough to be like, okay,
Right.
it might not be the exact same, but spiritually, it's close enough to where plus it just kind of sounds cool. Like, it's got a Ferrari motor.
Yeah.
As long as you don't sound like a tool saying it, like it's a cool little fun fact. And
It
chassis,
is.
The chassis was, I think, designed by the dude who did the 458.
Okay.
So it's like there's extra Ferrari-ness in there. Not that you can really tell. I mean, it's a great chassis, but it's it's not like, oh, it's a 458 but with 4 doors, because then you're really stretching it.
Right.
Not even close to the same, but it's got the same like 488 aluminum shift paddles.
Yep.
Like you hop in one of those and it's the same like pull.
Yep.
The same
Yeah,
feeling on everything. Yeah.
They share a lot of the same technology, which is cool. What are so you've only had it, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month?
Yeah, I want to say 2. I think I got it on the 3rd.
Did you drive it up from Salt Lake?
Oh yeah.
So that probably give you a pretty good feel of what you liked and didn't like about it.
Oh yeah. And like this is the first car I've had with like modern gizmos and
Yeah.
everything. So like it's got
Yeah, so what else are you planning to do? You're going to lower it a little
lowering
bit.
springs are on the way. I don't know when they're going to get here, but that's from everything I've read. The other problem with these cars is you can't adjust camber from factory, so it's static. And since this is an 18 and they hoiked it up, its camber is all out of whack up front. So it's pretty much 0 degrees of camber up front and maybe -1 in the back.
Wow.
So if you're cornering hard, like you just eat the outside edge of your tires, which happened because the previous owner tracked it right before I bought it. Thank you. So it needed new rubber. And you can just tell by looking at the edges, they're just chewed up. So when you dump it, or at least lower it a little bit,
Right.
you get closer to what the factory should have been for 2017, where it's like -1 to 1.5 up front and about -2.5 in the back.
Gotcha. Okay.
That way it's a lot more stable. Because if you're pushing this thing, you can feel the front is like nervous and jittery.
Yeah, I noticed that on a couple of those the pole when you came up onto the connector.
Yeah.
I could tell the front end was, and that might have just been the angle too, but I could tell the front end was kind of like.
Same thing when you brake hard. When you brake hard,
Yeah.
it gets a little squirrely.
Yeah,
So
and
you
that's
gotta-
and you think most of that's the camber, then.
I think so, and the higher center of gravity, because like it's not a monster truck relatively speaking,
Right.
but you put it up next to a Cadillac Escalade and it's a stance to Miata, but like from what I'm used to with the BMW, where it's so stiff and so low that it's just like uncomfortable all the time. I'm willing to sacrifice some ride quality to to make it drive a little bit better.
And so you're going to do anything else after that?
I don't think so. There's a little tunnel up here. Let's see if we can get an upshift. Because the upshifts sound crazy. Hold on, the back windows too.
God, that's fun. It never gets old.
No, never.
It never gets old.
Never. But other than lowering, I've already done all the exhaust stuff I wanted to do. It's got tires, lowerings in the works. It's pretty much just cosmetic stuff at that point. Like the front PPF, bless their soul, whoever put it on, but they must have been blind in one eye and using a dull like butter knife to cut it, because it's like just around everything. Oh, it's bad. Don't look at it too close.
I love the interior of this one. The color of it.
Yeah.
And the seats. These seats are like actually surprisingly comfy too.
Oh, dude, yeah. They're like, they give you the right amount of slouch.
Yeah.
To where you can kind of sit in them.
Yeah.
It's not like that super boosty lumbar support.
Yeah.
This is the only one I saw in silver, and the only one with silver and red interior by proxy. And it's the only one I've seen with a red interior and buckets. So it's like, if you wanted buckets, you got a black interior. If you wanted a red interior, you got a different color on the outside. Or if you wanted silver, then I didn't see any. So this one's kind of got every single meal deal. And this carbon wheel is an optional extra, and it's, for me, a must, because you get the carbon down here, the Alcantara up here. You know, you're paying for the speed and then the combination of everything. Like, it handles great, fresh out of the box. Even with this monster truck suspension, it's great. It's fast as hell. It looks awesome on the outside. The interior, for me, is the right amount of dated. Like, I've got a screen right here, but it's not, you know, the BMW iPad up there. It's not a Tesla.
Right. And you've got like all manual controls, analog controls, which are nice for your heat and your AC.
You've got real gauges, which to me is a big plus. The new 2023s have a digital dashboard, which I think is a complete sin.
I think on like you know, like your run-of-the-mill Mercedes where the screen goes like all the way across, it's really cool. But when you have a car like this,
when it's driver focused, I want real gauges right there. I want the screen to be kind of out of the way. Like, I don't even have Apple CarPlay up most of the time, even when it's plugged in, just because I like this clean.
This is great.
It's the clean black.
I'll get a shot of it.
Yeah, like just Alfa Romeo, nothing. Like, it's the same Chrysler FCA infotainment screen. Like, it's nothing crazy.
No.
But it's just like, it's out of my way. I don't have to look at it. And then in race mode, you've got like shift lights and all that fun stuff. Like, if I downshift a bunch, yeah, you can see it. I'm not going to be able to, I mean, there's a truck in front of us. I can't really rip on it.
No, that's fine.
You can see the first little stage. It goes yellow, double yellow, then it flashes shift at you. But it flashes shift at you at like 200 RPM before fuel cutoff. So if you wait for it to say shift, you're already missing the shift. Unless your reaction time is like Usain Bolt.
Yeah, I like the interior and the way they did these quite a bit.
Like, the air vents are very like Ferrari, McLaren, love child. The door handles to me kind of look like first gen R8.
Yeah.
Like, everything's just, it's like they copied the homework of all the best parts of all the other manufacturers, in my opinion. Like, I'm not a big fan of Mercedes shiny plastic everywhere.
No.
Or like, I'm not a big fan of BMW's super thick steering wheels now. So it's like, okay, we'll take kind of a thinner wheel, but we'll put some glossy carbon, but not glossy plastics.
Yeah.
Everything's pretty much soft touch.
It's pretty like well built too.
Yeah, nothing squeaks. You don't get that like like all those TikToks you see.
Yeah. Mercedes.
Yeah, exactly, that lady. Like, the only crappy like scritchy plastics are down here on the doors, and that's kind of where you want it, because that's what you kick.
Gonna ding your feet and everything.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they facelifted this.
Super nice.
They facelifted this center console right here to put more like aluminum and carbon trim, so there's like a little Italian flag right here, and you know, and they made the steering wheel solid right here, and they put a little quadrifoglio badge right there. And
yes, because this looks a little different than the white one I did, which was a 2020.
I think this part looks better on a 2020, but I think the 2017 and 2018 wheels are better because they're thinner. They made them thicker, like BMW M style. Yeah. And I'm not, you know, I don't really care that it's open or not, but whatever. I think this drives better personally. Like,
than an M3, you think? Or?
Yes. Okay. To be fair, I haven't driven an F80 M3, but a buddy has an F82 or F87 M2 competition. I've driven that a couple times and ridden it in a bunch, and it's just like, there's something about this that you just can't put your finger on. Like, the steering, obviously every reviewer says it's fantastic, and it is. It's just stupid. It's telepathic.
Is it that it's a little bit more, it's as like well put together and high end, but a little bit more unrefined in the driving experience?
It's more raw. Like, you can feel, like, the M2's got good feedback to it, But this one's got like, I don't know, the steering wheel feels better to me. The gas pedal feels more connected. These paddles are a huge highlight because the ZF 8-speed that's in this with Alfa Romeo's tune on it, like it shifts quickly, but it's not quite as fast as a DCT, especially on the downshifts. So, you know, you're not blipping through the gears, but you're pulling this long paddle and you're going brap, brap, and it takes about as long to pull the paddle as it does to shift the car.
Wow.
So, you know, it lines up versus these little tiny clicky paddles that go click, click, and it shifts, you know, 3 seconds later or whatever.
Right.
Like, I think that everything just matches up well, except for the brake pedal. Oh my God.
Really?
Oh, dude, there's reviewers who are like, oh, you know, the brake pedal's kind of tough to get used to and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, you haven't lived with the car. No, this brake pedal sucks. Just straight up, it's bad.
Is it too far forward?
No, it's brake by wire. So it's IBS, which is funny. That's the worst acronym they could have picked.
Yep.
But it's IBS, which is like intelligent braking system.
Yep.
Intelligent being the wrong word. It's brake by wire, so you have no feeling at all. If I slammed on the brakes right now, we would have no idea if ABS kicked in. We'd have no idea what's going on. And so thus, when you're driving around and pulling up to a stoplight, you know, if you downshift while you're braking, the car just goes, and then
you have no feel to it.
You have no feel. You can't modulate it like at all.
Why did they do that?
No clue. Sometimes when you stop, it's perfect. You take the exact same conditions, exact same feedback, exact same pedal, everything, and you're gonna stop just It's so hard to drive smoothly. And, you know, maybe once I've had it for like a year or two, I'll have gotten used to it more.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've put like 2,000 miles on it.
Yeah, you've driven it a lot.
In like a week and a half or 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm pretty qualified to say that it's just not the best brake pedal.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, that would frustrate me a lot.
But that's like the only fault I have with this car. I love the steering, I love the paddles, I love the transmission, I love the gas pedal sensation. Like everything about it is perfect. Even like the door handles, like I completely head over heels, but I hate the brake pedal, which is great because I'm subscribed to the ideology that every great car, like Jeremy Clarkson says, like if you have a great car that you want to love and form a bond with, it's got to suck at least somehow.
Yes.
Like there's got to be faults. That's what gives it like human qualities and all that stuff. Like that's the thing that I think the M cars were missing is like they're just good, but their quirks are like they're not really quirks. They're just like, oh, this could have been a little better.
Yeah.
This is like that brake pedal is just atrocious. or like I don't know, the startup procedure.
But
where
you'll love her for it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hit 9 different buttons. Like you know,
Yeah.
the Beamers you can just map M1 and M2 buttons on the steering wheel to your liking. You just tap them twice and you're in your mode. This thing I gotta do I'm ballet dancing every time I want to change modes, which is one of the quirks of the car. And nobody mentions that. Nobody says when you start somewhere you gotta add like an extra 30 seconds to do all your stuff before you get going.
But he's right though, it does add that human quality to it.
Absolutely.
And it's how relationships are too with people. It's like you never like everything about a person.
No, and if there is somebody who you do like everything, then they're definitely like a serial killer or something you don't know.
Yes, or just need your approval on everything.
Yeah. So, there's compromises in here for sure, like the whole FCA connection. If you hate that, you hate that.
Yeah.
But for me, all the compromises are ones I'm willing to make and happy to make.
I think for me, they're just so unique compared to like BMW as a brand.
Yeah.
Like you have an M3, but it's like, well, they're every other 3 series shares so much similar.
Yeah.
And they make so many of those, and then they make a ton of M3s, and so you just have like. It's cool. Like, and those cars are beautiful cars. They're really unique. I think they're really like, if someone wanted to do an episode one, I would do one in a heartbeat, and I would talk great things about it. Because
if somebody's got an F80 M3.
Yeah, because they are cool vehicles, but they like how many Alphas do you see every day? The Quadrifolios like this, or in general anywhere, it's just more unique, harder to find. Like you said, you could only find one silver one. In the whole area you looked.
I looked in the whole United States.
In the whole United States.
Literally like sorting by distance, not even a thing. Like just let me see all of them.
So if you looked for a specific year range of M3 in this color or a color, you'd probably find several.
You could probably find 20 silver F80s in the years that you want. Maybe not in the price you want, but that's the thing is like you can move your budget around if you're able to.
Right.
But you can't create a car out of thin air.
No.
Like every one of these, like it's kind of that supercar problem where it's like if you see a McLaren in Boise, it's a one of one.
Yeah, because it's Boise.
Yeah, because it's Boise. But even in these, like, even kind of like, if you went to, you know, South Beach or whatever, where there's probably, but there's a lot of these for sale in Florida. Like, you go to Miami, you might see 2, maybe 3 quadrifolios if you're there for a while. But I guarantee you none of them will be, not to be the Corvette guy, but it's like, they're not going to have the same options. They're not going to be the same spec.
Yeah.
You know, they're not all going to be made on
different.
On the second Tuesday in April. But, you know, like the other white one you did, like, it's totally different. This one's totally different year, totally different spec. I think it, you know, different seats, different interior, different, like, just different.
Yeah, very different.
And, you know, even if you, honestly, I kind of wish the Quadrifolios got the treatment the base Giulias did, where you can get, like, a tan interior, or, like, there's a lot more interior customization options. Like, you get wood trim or silver trim. Yeah, or just whatever the trim is. Like, there's a lot more options on the base ones. All the Quadrifolios are either black and red, or black and white. So everything you see that's red could be white, and those are the only 2 options you've got.
Interesting.
Other than the default black. On the new ones, I think you can pick the stitching color of, like, green and white or red, but you can't put the red stitching on a car that's painted red, which to me seems a little backwards.
God.
I don't know who made that choice, but yeah, so you see one of these and it's like, that's the one. You know, you see a silver Quadrifoglio going on and it's this one. Like, it's not like there's going to be another one.
Right.
There's only 2 wheel options. This one's got the correct wheels, the 5 holes. Like, just telling the other options are they're called Technicas or Technicos, depending on who you ask, and they just look like a wheel.
Yeah.
Like, you could see, you know, HRE would make them, or, you know, literally any wheel maker would just make that wheel, and it looks like a wheel. But these are like, those are Alfa wheels.
Yeah, that 2021 had these same style.
Good.
And they look good. I like these wheels. Yes, the good ones, exactly. And the color of these wheels with the color of this car looks really good too. It works pretty well. I thought about powder coating them silver just because I'm a silver wheel guy. Yeah. But this thing throws out so much brake dust that would be the worst idea I've ever had. It'd be too much silver too. Yeah. I think the contrast is nice. The contrast is nice. I'm just, you know, silver would make the wheels pop, but also they'd look a little more like standard, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. So you think you can keep it a long time or what? You know, everybody always says that they plan on it, but I genuinely do plan on keeping this for as long as I possibly can. Yeah. The only reason I would sell it is if I can't afford it. Like, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Like, if I get to the point where I want a different car, then I'm keeping this one. I'll have to figure it out because like, if I won the Powerball and I had an infinite garage space, this car would be in it. So it's not like, you know, it's like, oh, if I had the money, I'd get a C63 AMG or whatever. Yeah. It's like, no, I want one of these, and I've already got one of these. So, you know, why would I get rid of it and then sidestep or downgrade or something like that? Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Oh, dude. I feel like seems like you already are. You can't. 2,000 miles in 2 weeks. I know. That's awesome. Good for you. And thanks for doing this again, man. Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it. It's like a huge help, and it's been great to talk with you. I feel like we had a good drive. Yeah, and we saw Hellcat. We saw Hellcat. Raced the Hellcat. We know that I'm a little bit slower than a Hellcat on drag races, which I will take. Yes, exactly. If I lose something on drags, fair enough. Fair play to you, sir. And we'll find him later. We'll send him. Set up a race with me and him and on half a tank and see what happens. Yeah, he's not getting away that easy.